Indeed, and I think you can kind of tell by, the picture I chose here for him. I think this would have been a prime Cleve Dean, right? You see pictures of him when he was younger and wasn't quite as bulky as he was there, but I think he's still young enough there to have some mobility on the table and use that massive frame and weight.
That's terrible. It looks like a massively obese guy in that photo. His legs look like
he was. He was at some point, but he could still, do stuff on the table. Weirdly enough.
Let's go, Dave. Now, let's just say that I have gripped Dave Chaffee on the table before, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll have to say, I'm just going to tell you, this is not a word of a lie. I had hand control. Okay. I had hand control. Okay, and look, the subset text to that might be that he just had pulled Vitaly Laletin the day before in the most brutal war of his life, and he was beat up. But I know I was actually just doing rehab with him, helping him rehab. But his hand was so blown up and he was so sore that I think my 10-year-old son would have been able to pin him that day. But
I know we all have sort of we see Brzezinski in this.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you might be. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday so far. How's everyone doing out there in the arm wrestling world? Welcome to Arm Historian Live. We're doing the Fantasy League today. Unfortunately, due to we'll call it a scheduling issue, our special guest couldn't make it. But instead of just moving it to a different day, I decided to do one with just me. Probably we'll do it during the next week with our special guest, but I figured we might as well get a couple of matches in. Just cozy arm historian and a couple of viewers. Hey Tomer, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Welcome. We still haven't talked about King of the Table either, which is something I've been wanting to do. Because quite a bit of the matches were very interesting, if you ask me. Let me know if my audio is okay, by the way. I see my mic audio peaking. I changed a couple settings, so things might be a little different than they usually are. We might as well jump into it and take a quick look at the brackets and where we are in the tournament. If I can pull it up here. Here we go. I think we'll do 4 to 6 matches today. I think that's fair. I can make the matches run a little longer than I usually would. In the previous episodes, I kind of ran them at 5 minutes each. But I might run them a little longer this time. Seeing as I can just focus on chat and stuff a little more. Talk with you guys a little more than I usually can if there's a guest on. We have Devon Larratt versus Denis Cyplenkov, John Brzezinski versus Hermes Gasparini, and then in the losers round 2 we have Dave Chaffee versus Alexei Voevoda, Michael Todd versus Vitaly Laletin, Travis Bajent versus Andrei Pushkar, and Todd Hutchings versus Gary Goodrich. Very interesting one, that last one. I saw it earlier and that's an interesting one. I might wait for the last 2 matches here until we have a guest on, just because I'm very interested in hearing whoever we have on next, their thoughts on these matches. I think as far as like the current 4 guys still in the A bracket, like in the winners bracket, kind of unsurprising. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen a lot of major upsets yet. Devon, Denis, John, and Hermes are all top 4 right now, and I think that kind of corresponds with like 1-1 with our athletes being voted into the Fantasy League. We can actually look at it here. Yeah, Devon was number 1 in those, being voted into the league. So the number 1 most voted for athlete. And then at number 2, we have Hermes. So yeah, those two are still in. At number 3, we have John Brezink. Of course, he's still in. And then at number 4, we have EvW Laletin. So that's where the list kind of veers off from how the actual tournament went. EvW Laletin came in at number 4 and Denis Cyplenkov at number 5. And currently, Vitaly is in the losers bracket, having to face off against Michael Todd. Which, yeah, he recently did, but I don't know if people would consider both the athletes to be in their prime right now. Hard to say. But yeah, let's move on here with our first match. I think we'll do... I'll start with the losers round here. I might hop around a bit, but I think we'll start with Dave Chaffee and Alexei Voevoda. I like that one. Let's pull these guys up here. Here they are. I'll get the poll started for you guys. For those of you that haven't participated in one of these before, these matches, I'll quickly go over the rule set. Let's just do that. So as you can see here, all athletes are at their all-time prime. It's a best-of-1 tournament, double elimination, on the right arm only, loosely following East versus West rules. So an East versus West table and stuff like that, and kind of East versus West approach to King's move and stuff. Like things like that, things you would expect to come up at a tournament like this. And then tournament fatigue matters. We do take into account previous matches that our athletes have had, so we can take a look at that in a little more depth during this one, seeing as we don't have a co-commentator on. And then, of course, Levan is banned, also voted on by you guys. Tomer says, interesting match, but I'd have to say Dave. But yeah, with that, let's start the poll here, if I can. For some reason, I can't start a poll on YouTube. Strange. I can start a Q&A session, but not a poll. Let me refresh here for a second. That's weird. Yeah, that's strange. Even after refreshing, I can't seem to start a poll. I'm just trying to troubleshoot here on the fly. It's like the option to start a poll is grayed out for some reason here. Strange. Hang on, I'll try to log in on my phone and see if I can start a poll from there or something. Very weird. Bear with me 1 second, guys. In the meanwhile, I'll take this opportunity while I'm troubleshooting here to wait, I think, yeah, of course. Okay, figured it out. Hey Bob Anderson, how you doing, man? We're doing the all-time prime fantasy league. And right now it's Alexei Voevoda in his prime, facing off versus Dave Chaffee. And you guys are about to vote on who will move on in the tournament, because this is the losers bracket, so whoever loses here is out of the tournament. Let's take a look. Alexei Voevoda versus Dave Chaffee. When was Voevoda's prime? Had to be around 2004 somewhere, right? A little earlier, maybe a little later. And when was Dave Chaffee's prime? I think a lot of people point to like when he beat Denis, which would be what, about 2013 or something like that, maybe a little earlier, 2012. Can't exactly remember the date of that match. But yeah, get your votes in, go to the chat. You'll see a pop-up for who do you think wins this match in their prime. Usually I'll let the matches go for about 5 minutes, but since it's just me today, I'll probably let it run for a little longer if necessary. And then whoever wins will move to the brackets for a second, moves on in these brackets here. So as you can see right now, it's Dave Chaffee versus Alexei Voevoda, then Michael Todd versus Voevoda Laletin afterwards, and so on and so on. We're in the losers bracket here, and then over here on the A side, we have the 4 usual suspects, I think we can call them that, in Devon Larratt versus Denis Cyplenkov, John Brezink versus Hermes Gasparini. And then just a really quick reminder here, these are the rules. I'll just show it for a couple seconds. You can pause the stream if you want to take a longer look at them. But yeah, here they are. Right now it seems Dave Chaffee is winning comfortably, but granted, the sample size is on the lower side, so yeah. If you haven't voted, take a second, just takes a second. And also share why you think the athlete you voted on should win in their prime. Remember, it's like we're going back in time, we're taking a time machine back to when these respective athletes were in their prime and forcing them to pull each other. Thomas says, I'm really not sure if Dave's prime can be in 2013, because in 2011 at the Arnold he got flashed by Denis. So I don't think he advanced so much in 2 years and then went downhill after that. Yeah, I can see that to a degree. I think there can be a lot more in a flash, or like a lot less in a flash pin than it might appear. You know what I mean? They might have been closer than it might have looked already then, even though it was a flash pin. But yeah, I certainly see what you're saying. It's hard to pinpoint the primes for a lot of these athletes. Some are very clear cut. Like I think Voevoda is pretty clear cut when his prime was, just because his active time within the sport is relatively low compared to some of these other guys who've had multiple decades in the sport. So yeah, it makes sense that a person like Alexei Voevoda is much more easier to pinpoint when his prime is than someone like Dave Chaffee. Yeah, right now chat is pretty divided, with yeah, the votes being split right down the middle. I do think personally it would be a close match, although probably I'm thinking I'd give the edge to Dave, because maybe, like, you know, Voevoda attempted a couple of comebacks and he wasn't at the same strength, I'm sure of that, but even still, he couldn't really get a foothold again fully, or at least to his own content. So I think by the time Dave Chaffee was at his prime, the overall field had been elevated already. So that's why a prime Dave Chaffee might be stronger than a prime Alexei Voevoda. But I think in this match it comes down to strength most of all, right? Both are fine arm wrestlers, of course, but I think the both prime things that they've got going for them is their strength, right? Rax FF says Alex. Bob Anderson says this is a single round match, right? Yes, this is best of one. We'll take a look at their previous matches. I think that's a good thing to do right now. Yeah, here we go. So, Dave Chaffee and Alexei Voevoda. how did they do before in this tournament? Alexei Voevoda lost to Todd Hutchings in round 1 in what was a pretty close match, I believe, so must have tired him out somewhat. And then won versus Cleve Dean. But I remember, I believe the match being pretty convincingly won by Alexei Voevoda, so yeah, he had one tough match in the first round, and then what was a pretty tough match against Cleve Dean, but not. I think it was pretty clear cut that he won. I believe we could go back a bit and watch for a second, but I believe it was pretty close. So that means that, yeah, probably Alexei was or is pretty tired right now facing Dave Chaffee. And then Dave Chaffee, let's take a look at how he got where he is right now in the tournament. He faced Matt Mask in the first round and won in pretty convincing fashion. And then faced Hermes Gasparini, where he lost pretty quickly too. So I would have to think probably... yeah, I would have to think maybe Alexei Voevoda is a little more tired than Dave Chaffee. Although this might have been closer than I remember. Dave Chaffee versus Hermes Gasparini, so... yeah, interesting. Interesting. Tomer says, well, if you're losing to Hutchings, then I doubt you have the strength to beat Dave, seeing as Dave used to flash Todd in their practice pools. Yeah, that's certainly true. Might be like a fluke, like Alexei's match versus Hutchings or something. Hutchings might have been quicker on the start or something like that in the tournament's canon. David Pryor says, best arm wrestling channel there is. I appreciate you, David Pryor. Our live streams have been a little slow viewer wise lately, but that's totally fine. I think we have a great community still, and I still really like making the videos and doing the live streams with you guys, so yeah, I appreciate you. As for this match, Dave Chaffee is beating Alexei Voevoda right now pretty convincingly. I'll let it run for another 30 seconds or so, and I think then enough time has passed that we can declare a victor. But yeah, right now Dave Chaffee winning. If you want to change that at all, this is the time to get your vote in. Won't be another chance to do so. And the one who loses this match exits the tournament. We're at 8 minutes. I think that'll do it with Dave Chaffee winning at 58% of the votes. Chat has spoken. Let's take a look at what that does to the brackets. Here we are, Dave Chaffee versus Alexei Voevoda. Dave Chaffee wins. Well done, Dave. Pretty close match. We'll keep that in mind for Dave's next match, which will be either versus Michael Todd or Vitaly Laletin. That's the next match we're going to be voting on here. I know it's a match we've had very recently, but I want to stress here, was Michael Todd in his prime? Was Vitaly even in his prime? I think there could be a case made for Vitaly being in his prime, but I have a sneaking suspicion Michael Todd might not have been. I don't know though, I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. What do you have? Is it Michael Todd or Vitaly Laletin? Pretty hard match for Dave, says Tomer. Yeah, it was a hard match indeed, but he made it out on top. TOS Move, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, Michael Todd off to a quick start with 2 votes versus Vitaly Laletin's 1. Then Vitaly Laletin getting back into the match, it seems. Yeah, I don't know. I think, like, going off a recent result, a very recent result, you think Vitaly Laletin would take this? But like I said, I don't know. When was Michael's prime? I think that's a very hard question to answer. Especially lately, because I feel like, I don't know, sometimes it feels like what gets in the way of Mike's victories lately is more a psychological thing, but I don't know if that's even true. He might just not be at that level anymore because of his many injuries. So hard to pinpoint when Mike's prime was. Tomer says, I think that Michael's prime was actually 2019, even without the large WAL pads. And I still think Mike was better then. I think Mike has gone a bit crazy. I think a lot of people share that opinion right now. I don't want to say a lot of people in the arm wrestling community, but like on social media, it's kind of something like a reoccurring thing you see. That Michael's own mentality or psychological state at this moment is like getting in his way during a match. I don't know if that's true necessarily. Might just be that his many injuries are catching up with him, and it's just the way he's responding to that. But I don't know, I'm not a sports psychologist and I don't know Michael Todd on any personal level, so I couldn't tell you. Mike's arm used to be very hard to open, now everyone is doing it. Yeah, I mean, okay, we can't forget that the match was still relatively close, right? Especially certain points. I think it could have gone a different way. I think Michael could have gotten a pin or 2 maybe, I don't know. Vitaly still won, don't get me wrong, like pretty clearly, but it wasn't as like one-sided as a lot of people are making it out to be, I think, right now. Bob Anderson says Michael did say he would beat any past version of himself. Tough to say when. Tough to say when his prime was. Yes, indeed. Bob Anderson. I don't... Is that one of those stock phrases that arm wrestling athletes use all the time? There's a couple of them that's like... I kind of roll my eyes every time I hear them. Like, I'm the strongest I've ever been and stuff like that. It's a different version of that, right? Tomer says, it's a shame for Mike. He said 2 days before the Vitaly match that he's taking 2 blood pressure pills a day and his face is bright red. Yeah, I would hate to look at some of these guys' medical records. It would be fascinating, but also pretty troubling, I think, at times. But you know, it's what you choose to do at the end of the day, so... Brian Mogo 08 says, I think Michael's prime was 2011 to 12 when he 6-0'd Pushkar and beat Denis at the Arnold Classic. Yeah, I can even see that. I think it's a difficult position to take in a way because of the reoccurring, like it's a reoccurring theme here of like the sport has, the average level of puller has risen throughout the years. Compared to 2011 and 2012 in more than a decade, I think the level has gone up. But yeah, I can definitely see that just like based on the quality of victories, like the examples you give. Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. That makes it a defensible position, I think. So yeah, I can see that, Brian. Tomer says, I personally think that Mike has more estrogen than Test right now. That's also a very interesting theory. Have you posited that one to Mike yet? Or are you deciding to keep it to yourself? Could publish it under a pseudonym. I'd love to get Michael's take on that one. Kind of want to change chat's background here on the live stream. Let's see if I can do that quickly. Satire Gaming Sleuth, how you doing? He says Michael Todd is a hero. I love me some Michael Todd. I've said it many times before. I want Michael to do well. And even if he doesn't do well, I think he's still an entertaining guy to look at and talk about and stuff like that. So I love me some Michael Todd. I've never hidden it. A lot of people think because I made a rise and fall video on him, which was like one of the first videos I ever made, that I hate the guy or something, but no. Couldn't be further from the truth. I think he's a very interesting character. And yeah, I like Michael Todd in the sport. Tomer says Mike also said that he's weighing 8 pounds a day before the Vitali match, so I doubt his kidney is looking good. Okay, yeah. Like, my question is, why was he weighing his pee? And why was he weighing it in pounds? That's my question. Meanwhile, the match here, Vitaly Laletin seems to be taking it over Michael Todd in a quite one-sided affair. 70% of the votes going to Vitaly. If you haven't voted already, I encourage you to get your votes in. It's only a quick one tap in the chat box there, depending on if you're on desktop or mobile. Or even on TV, there should be a way to vote. Although if it's too much effort, I don't blame you not doing it. Top Talking says, Monster said that he wants to do 230 pounds donation before the end of the year. What's your opinion? I don't know, I see all these crazy lifts getting crazier and crazier all around me on social media. Like, I don't know, I respect it as long as the form doesn't suffer too much, and at a certain point you're kind of at this point where, is this really a lift that has any utility, or is this a pure ego lift or a pure business lift, quote unquote, for social media? There's nothing wrong with that, with doing that, but yeah, I think maybe as an athlete with like a following that wants to practice a sport, you should stress that a beginner shouldn't try these kinds of lifts, especially with that kind of weight. That goes without saying, you know, I don't mean that he has to put a disclaimer in every video, but I rarely ever hear an athlete like Michael talk about how this is like a very specialized lift, and even then it might not have any carryover, like practical carryover to the table. But yeah, there's some, I don't know, you can go really deep on that topic, and there's a lot of discussions going around on that topic, a lot of opinions, and mine isn't necessarily based on any deep pool of knowledge, so yeah, take it for what you will. Tomer says he's weighed himself at night and then in the morning, and the only thing he did was he weighed in because he's American. They use freedom units. Yeah, he weighed in pounds. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's I would still expect other things to be happening, right? I mean, you're burning energy too at night and releasing it in all kinds of ways. But yeah, interesting, very interesting. Doesn't bode well for his kidneys, maybe you're right. That's crazy. Yeah, 230 pounds. I don't know. I guess I'd like to see it just for the circus factor of it, but yeah. I think we can call this match with EvW Laletin taking the win over Michael Todd very convincingly here. It wasn't too hard for Vitaly, it seems, so keep that in mind as he's moving on in the tournament. Let's take a look at the brackets. I think we'll do one more match tonight, and then we'll keep the rest for our following 2 live streams with our special guests. Which one of them will probably be during the upcoming week, so keep your eyes peeled on my Instagram account, or I'll also post on YouTube in the community tab. Yeah, that's what it's called. Okay, so Vitaly takes this match. Well done, Vitaly. I'll probably keep... No, I'll do the one that's in the thumbnail. I think that's fair. I think if people came here, like, looking at the replay and saw a thumbnail of Devon Larratt and Denis Cyplenkov in their prime, they'd want to see this match. So yeah, let's do the main match of tonight with Devon Larratt versus Denis Cyplenkov in their prime on the right arm. Let's get the guys to the table. We'll say goodbye to MMT and Vitaly, and we'll get Cyplenkov and Larratt here. There we go. Let's start the poll, let's start the match, and I'd love to hear everyone's opinion on this one. Also, if you're watching this in the replay, share some of your opinions in the comments. I'd love to hear them even afterwards. I read every comment I get on my channel, I read, so I don't always have time to respond to every single one, but I do read them all. So who do you have? Is it Michael Todd? Not Michael Todd, is it Devon Larratt? Or Denis Cyplenkov? 2 titans of arm wrestling. One from the east, one from the west, quote unquote. Who do you have? And I want to hear opinions on this one, because yeah, you can't just say one or the other and not tell me why you think one or the other. Also, it'll be interesting to know if people think Devon is in his prime right now. Everyone knows Denis isn't, right? But yeah, I'm interested in knowing if Devon is in his prime right now. Tomer said, I saw a guy on Reddit doing the same pronation lift as Devon with the same weight. Proved it was the same weight, so I don't... these lifts have much carryover. I don't think these lifts have much carryover. Yeah, I think it's limited unless you, like, very specifically know what you want as an arm wrestler and you're, like, deeply entrenched in the sport. Then probably there's some utility there just because you're trying to get as close to the movements on the table as you can. But yeah, overall I think sometimes it's overstated how much actual carryover there is between most arm wrestling lifts and actual on the table strength. I'm sure there's some of the very, like, rudimentary basic ones, because I kind of felt it myself that there's some carryover there. But if I see all these super specialized lifts, 1 RM maxes, I don't know. I have my doubts sometimes. Because Azuri, how you doing? Says, I'll hang around for the last one today. Good to see you, man. Welcome, welcome. Hope the arms are feeling well. Says Azuri, one of my regular training partners. Top Row King says, no chance. Talking about the match, but don't know in which way. Tomer says the question is not whether Denis has a chance against Devon, but whether Devon has a chance against Denis. Very deep. Denis, inducer of Devon's PTSD to losing and ketamine addiction. Cyplenkov. Homer telling it how it is in his mind. I'm not saying one way or the other. Atlantis, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Just in time to vote for Devon. Seems like chat is kind of leaning towards Denis right now. Very interesting. Kazazuri says, stiff arm today, but I know who did this. Devon for the win here, says Kazazuri. Kazazuri, a Devon believer. Seems like the chat is kind of split on this one, so if you haven't voted, quickly get your vote in. It's only one click or a tap, depending on where you're watching. Oh shit, Denis is winning, says Atlantis. Yeah, he is. Very interesting. Like, when do you guys think Denis's prime was, honestly? You think it's around the time when he faced Devon on the left? 2018? Or earlier than that? It's not after that. It's not after Denis had his little mishap. Let's say. Prime Denis was pretty scary, says Atlantis. Yeah, Prime Denis was scary. A mythical figure in some arm wrestling circles, still until this day. And beyond, to be fair, just in the strongman world. At the Worlds, yeah, I think, says Atlantis. Might be. Top Broking says I voted for Denis because he has a brain tumor. Does he really, though? Is that why he, like, a brain tumor, that was the excuse that it... Not excuse, I don't want to use that word, but that was the explanation he gave in one of his videos. Yeah, Atlantis says, wait, he doesn't really, does he? Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Colin Farrell says definitely earlier. When do you think it was, Colin? Love to hear it. Tomer said, he said in an interview with Voice of Arm Wrestling that for pure strength it was 2013 to 2014. But for super matches and endurance it was 2018. He purposely focused on endurance for 2018. He said he was weaker, but more stamina. There you have it, from the horse's mouth, from Denis's mouth himself. Thanks for that one, Tomer. Bob Broking says, yeah, Mall 1. That's not good. I hope, I hope he gets rid of it, or whatever has to happen with it happens. Wish him the best, of course. Denis is another person that I made a rise and fall video on. But yeah, I like Denis. Not a lot to dislike, right? Tomer says he has a pituitary gland tumor. They even showed the picture of his brain with the tumor visible. Okay. Yeah, I think I remember that video coming out. That wasn't too long ago, right? I think I watched it for a couple minutes. Maybe scroll through it. Don't have a lot of time to watch a ton of arm wrestling videos, and still I do every time I make a video. Like, I'm editing the next John video. I've been editing it for a long time and I'm seeing nothing but arm wrestling matches. Colin Farrell says, I believe when he met Michael Todd and Richard Lupkes in the same tournament and won. I think that was at the Arnold's. That must be his prime time as far as the right arm is concerned. Yeah, I can see that. I don't mind that at all. That's Denis's prime. Probably makes sense in combination with what Tomer said. With Denis describing his 2013 to 2014 as his strongest era, and 2018 as his, like, more endurable era. That makes sense. Or endurance-based era, I should say. Tomer says, shame that we never saw real prime Denis. He said he was going to bring his best for top 8. He also said that he would have brought his prime in 2019 for Levan's left match, but COVID stopped that. Yeah, COVID stopped a lot of matches. It's funny when I make these kind of biographical videos, usually in chronological order, following the athlete's career. There's always like a lull in activities around that time. It's always something I keep going back to in every episode, which makes sense, right? It's a global pandemic, so of course it's gonna be there. But I keep trying to find new ways to actually depict it without always using the exact same footage. Kazazuri says, really, Denis? The sport evolved. Devon evolved multiple times. Who can a prime Denis beat? Or how can a prime Denis beat this prime Devon? Not even a big weight difference anymore. Yeah, I don't think there is much of a weight difference between prime Denis and Devon right now, if that's what you're saying. Like, I don't think there is much of a weight difference there. Yeah, so Kazazuri's saying it should obviously be Devon winning here over Denis. And meanwhile, chat is giving the edge to Denis right now over Devon. Tomer says the guy had a 290 kilogram bench. Like, what the fuck? Over 200 kilos more than me. Kept the weight difference here. Devon has a belly and Denis had a six-pack. Yeah, Denis is like built differently. He has those Cro-Magnon jeans in like large supply, I think. Guy was built like a true caveman. Still is to a degree. Very thick wrists and fingers and all that. Kazazuri says, yeah, that's heavy shit, but 290 kilograms is not the same as being a good / great arm wrestler. Built different, Devon is arm wrestling. Denis is strength sport boy. There you go, people fighting it out in chat. Meanwhile, Devon is slowly crawling back a bit to an equilibrium here, but Denis still leading, and I think I'm gonna call it at about 12 minutes. I think I'll call this match at 12 minutes. It's a close one, they're still grinding it out. I think that's fair. So if you haven't voted, get your votes in. No one takes one little click or tap. Michael Merck says prime Denis would definitely beat Devon. That's why they didn't pull on the right until Denis got sick and weak. There you have it. Thanks for that, Michael Merck. Colin Farrell says, I believe back then, however, Denis would have won. But current shape Devon versus prime Denis, Devon wins. I think that's a pretty good take, yeah. I think I kind of share in that take. Like, a current Devon probably beats prime Denis, or there's a good chance that he would, in my opinion. But then if they would have faced back when Denis was at his prime, yeah, Denis would have beaten Devon. Tomer says, even in 2023, Devon lost his wrist slightly in round 1 against Dave. Meanwhile, Denis is the only person to manage to hook prime Dave round 1. That's true. That's true too. This is a very close one. Still only one vote here could make the difference between Devon losing to Denis or it being equal. So very close match. I said I'll leave it running until 12 minutes, so another 10 seconds. If it's like still equal, I'll leave it running a little longer, but gonna have to be quick. That'll do it. Denis took the win here over Devon. I think it's a pretty big upset to a lot of people, but chat has spoken here. So clearly it's not as big as of an upset as I thought it would be. Because Azuri says outside, inside game are also two different styles of generating power. That's true. Tomer says, I think Denis would have to beat him outside, but wouldn't lose his wrist completely because of an amazing hook. Well, there you go. The people have spoken. Denis Cyplenkov did take this match. It was a very close one. But yeah. I'll note it down in the brackets here. Very close match. With Denis coming out on top. And moving on to the winners final. Remember, after the winners final, there's still the grand finals where the survivor of our losers bracket, where Devon Larratt is now in, will have the opportunity to face the winner of our winners finals, which will be between Denis Cyplenkov and then either John Brezink or Hermes Gasparini. Very interesting one. Yeah, looking forward to seeing how this one works itself out. I have no clue actually. Like today's result was a little surprising of like the final match we did. So I have no idea. It means that Devon will be facing either Dave Chaffee or Vitaly Laletin in the losers round 4, which, you know, I could see if Vitaly Laletin moves on. If Vitaly Laletin beats Dave and he moves on, then I could definitely see people voting for Vitaly Laletin to win versus Devon. And Devon being out of the tournament in the losers round 4. Very interesting. I think this made a lot of the upcoming matches very exciting, at least to me. Like the prospect of seeing if Devon will be able to beat Vitaly Laletin in one of the pivotal matches of the entire tournament is, yeah, gonna be big. Might cause an upset, and yeah, one of the people who we didn't have as a favorite to win the entire thing win it. Awesome. Thank you so much for voting. It's thanks to you guys that stuff like this can happen. So I thank you to to participate in this. I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Join me in the course of the next week. It's gonna be, I can't pinpoint the day, I'm sorry, but it's gonna be one of the next days during the week. Keep your eye out on the community tab or my Instagram account. It's gonna depend on when my next guest can join us. So there you go. For some of the next matches. In the meanwhile, I'll take some time here to thank all our wonderful members. Those who are still members, I appreciate it. Never necessary, of course, to become a member of the channel, but I do greatly appreciate your continued support. It means a lot. Some of these people have been a member for over 2 years now, which, you know, that's crazy. Never would have expected it, but thank you to those who, yeah, decided to become Armians and Fingerfolk. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Of course, thank you to all who watch on a regular basis, like my videos, do all that kind of stuff, and join these leagues. Without your votes, nothing would be happening here. So yeah, I do appreciate that. Michael Merck says, I'm from Ukraine, actually still voted for Denis, and not because I support him, it's just how I see it. That's fair. I appreciate your unbiased vote there, because Azuri says, damn, should have left my window open, then could breathe some Chernobyl gases. There you go. Prime Denis Cyplenkov, the strongest arm wrestler both left and right to have ever graced the earth with his presence, says Tomer. Lots of Russians in these matchups today, says Brian. Well, make sure that you're there when Devon faces another Russian in Vitaly Laletin. Let your voice be heard. And yeah, see if we cannot make this exciting. Until then, I do appreciate you guys being here. It's been a blast today. Keep your eyes peeled on one of the upcoming videos, another John Brezink video, and then another special little video that I've been working on for a while that's gonna come out very soon. So yeah, everyone who watches me, everyone who supports me, thank you, thank you, thank you. And until next time, Arm Historian, out of here. Bye-bye, guys.